What's going on, chat? Everybody good? Let me know if you all can hear me all right. Appreciate you all tuning in to this I won't say impromptu. We had about an hour and a half to prep. About an hour and a half to prep. But let me know if you all can hear me good in the chat. Mario, appreciate that. We'll give it some time for people to hop in real quick. ACC, yeah, what a game. That was a great game. Thought Ole Miss was going to pull it out, but hey man. Is this how we do it? Do we cheer ACC? I know we usually don't do that, but if every other team in every other conference is going to, we might as well. Make sure I got my notes, my water. We'll give it about 2 more minutes. Michael, appreciate that. Michael with the super chat. Appreciate that a ton, Michael. Miami gets to play at home. Yeah. I realized that about halfway through the game. I was like, oh, I forgot the national championship is at Miami. So excited about this pass rush. Yes. We will definitely, we will definitely discuss. Again, guys, please don't forget, if anything happens while I'm recording, I'm not looking at my phone and nothing's going to pop up on my computer screen. So if someone were to commit while we are on air, just spam the comments. Christian, yes, that is true. Give it another minute before we get going. Give it another minute. Oh, man, it's a fun time to be a Cardinal fan, chat. It is a fun time to be a Cardinal fan. Get this real quick. Let me fix this setting and we'll be good to go. There we go. We're looking good, Anthony. We're looking good. Hey, I appreciate that. Appreciate that for sure. I get it. I appreciate you tuning in. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. Make sure I got everything ready to go. And we will be ready. All right. All right. And here we go. Boom. With the addition of UNC star edge rusher Tyler Thompson, the Louisville Cardinals now have the best pass rush in the ACC in 2026.
You are Locked On Louisville, your daily podcast on the Louisville Cardinals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Card Nation, what's going on, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to this live edition of the Locked On Louisville podcast. I'm your host, Dalton Pence. This is my 6th year covering U of L, 4th year hosting this show. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. Of course, Locked On Louisville, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is now the #1 sports podcast network in the world. We got a lot of great stuff to discuss on today's show. A familiar face is making his way back to Louisville. UCLA defensive back Ben Perry is coming back for his final season of eligibility, playing in the 502. The Cardinals picked up a pair of receivers from the University of Kentucky, and they are the favorites to land an elite wide receiver from Vanderbilt. But we're going to start out today's show by discussing the big time edition, and that is UNC star edge rusher Tyler Thompson. Tyler Thompson was a absolute dog last year for the Tar Heels. 2023, 2024, he was a rotational guy. And then in 2025, he had a breakout season. 26 tackles, 7 sacks on the season, which is good for 8th in the conference. Appreciate you all dropping some comments. Let me know what you all think about the addition, and we will go through some comments here in a second. But getting a proven pass rusher that has played in the ACC, we talk about trying to find as surefire additions as you can get. This is one of those levels, right? This is one of those additions right here. I believe, and you all know, I'm not a huge hot take artist. I try to, calculate every take and back it up with stats and rationale and reasoning. But the Louisville Cardinals are going to have the best pass rush in the ACC in 2025. We'll start out with the numbers. Louisville now, going into 2026, they have 2 of the top 5 returning, keyword on that, returning ACC sack leaders. Cleve Lubin and Tyler Thompson are both top 5 of returning players in the ACC in total sacks. That's incredible. Having 2 of those guys. Getting Cleve Lubin back is already huge. But when you bring in another player that dominated on the edge, it's even more important. Not to mention, AJ Green took his name out of the transfer portal. He was top 30 in the league in sacks in a rotational role. He had 4 total sacks in 2025. So you have, looking at the 2025 numbers, you have a guy who's tied for 3rd with 8.5. That's Cleve Lubin. You have a guy at number 8 who had 7. That's Tyler Thompson. And AJ Green, 30th, who had 4. Now, here's another thing. Natural progression. Cleve Lubin, I think it took him just a bit of time to adjust to the ACC from the Sun Belt, and he started to find his footing late in the season. You're telling me that with another offseason and understanding what he's going to see this season, he's not going to take a step forward in the ACC? He's going to. Same thing with Tyler Thompson. I don't pay attention to portal rankings because it's pretty clear that they get political. Like Eric's Daugherty, for example, the night before his commitment to Louisville, he was the 52nd ranked overall player in the portal, number 2 interior offensive lineman. Like an hour before he committed, the next morning, he dropped 100 spots. Why? It's not because 100 better players entered the transfer portal. It's because guys go up and down depending on who they commit to. It's not a secret. It's not a conspiracy either. So I don't really pay attention to the rankings because they move up and down depending on where a guy commits. But when I saw players with less productivity and less potential ranked higher than Thompson in the rankings, I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to look into who's recruiting this player. A lot of schools recruited Tyler Thompson. Ultimately, it ended up being a Louisville versus SMU battle. Louisville versus SMU battle for Thompson. He ended up visiting SMU, I believe. I'm almost positive he did, or maybe he didn't. Regardless, you get his commitment. That's big time. That's one of those needle-moving moves, or additions, not needle-moving moves. That's one of those moves that pushes you that much closer to the college football playoff. I do worry a little bit about Lubin and Thompson sealing the edge, defending the run. But I think that that's where AJ Green is going to excel in 2026. And don't forget, we talk about progression for Thompson, who has, I think, 2 years of eligibility left, and Lubin. AJ Green, 6'6", 260 pounds, had a breakout season like we predicted that he was going to. But he also is likely going to take another huge leap. Devin says, what does the hoodie say? It says, too nice, too Louisville. It's the Donovan Mitchell hoodie. Too fragile. Anyways, There was a comment. Devin says, who is going to be the defensive coordinator? We're racking up talent with no idea of who's coaching them. Here's the thing, and I'll offer this as maybe a little bit of comfort to you. Being able to go into the portal and get these guys, yes, you're going to have to pay them. And I'm not naive enough to understand that Louisville probably paid Tyler Thompson more than SMU did. But you don't think it came up in conversation, who in the world is going to coach me? I think they know behind the scenes, and I think that they're telling the players. It just hasn't leaked. Now, I've gone back and forth. For the most part, I thought it was going to be a coach getting promoted from within. I ultimately thought that was going to be Mark Ivey, and it still very well could be Mark Ivey, but I also kind of wonder, well, is it someone that is already coaching? Is it someone that's coaching in the NFL, like a position coach? I mean, just throwing some possibilities out there, because why else would it take so long? Like, connect the dots here. So if guys are committing and other guys are taking their name out of the portal, there has to be a plan behind the scenes. Something just hasn't gotten announced. And that's the way that I'm looking at this, is that something just hasn't gotten announced. So to recap this is a big time move. This is a ceiling changing move, because not only do you have the edge rushers now, I think Jared Smith, the Kentucky transfer, is going to fit in nice as a 3-tech on the interior of the defensive line. It's going to give you a little bit of interior pass rush. Outside of Smith, it's going to be interesting to see if Louisville adds anyone else to the interior of that defensive line. I'm not necessarily sure if they will. I would say that they're going to add one more guy, but we will see. Let's go through the comments before we talk about wide receivers. Let's see. Any word on how we're looking with the Iowa safety? Very good. I'll tell you a little bit more here in a second. So excited about the new team and season so much. I bought season tickets for the upcoming year. First time season ticket buyer. Heck yeah, Mario. Let's see. Christian asks, do you think Jeff Brom and Kurt Signetti should have a discussion on eventually renewing the U of L IU rivalry? I'd be up to it. Locked on Louisville, my number one most watched show of 2025. Love to see it. Heavy Meadow Detective. They're supposed to be the SEC, not in the national championship for the 3rd year in a row. I think that's pretty interesting. You think we'll get a center, or one of the linemen we got will move into the center position? Ultimately, I think that they're going to get a center. If they do go with an internal option, it's probably going to be either Sam Seacrest, who would be my most likely option, or maybe they entertain moving Jordan Church from guard to center. Not necessarily sure. We need more NIL if we're going to be competing for a national championship. I mean, with the way things are trending, probably so. With our current personnel, do you think we run a 3-4 next season? That's what I'm trying to figure out. I'm not necessarily so sure. How many UK players have we taken? 5 up to this point. Didn't IU pull out of the games that were scheduled? Yes, they did. Eric's as our center. I don't believe so. He hasn't really played center. I think he's a penciled-in starter at probably right guard, if I had to say. But someone asked about Kentucky players, and the Cardinals added 2 more on Thursday. Both of them wide receivers. I think that both of them are developmental pieces. We'll tell you about both of those guys and how the Cardinals are favored to land an elite wide receiver from the SEC. Don't go anywhere. You're tuned into Locked On Louisville, covering your team every day. Let's be real. Managing your finances can feel overwhelming, between subscriptions that you forgot about, bills that keep going up, and trying to figure out where all your money actually goes each month. It's easy to feel like you're losing control, and who has the time to track every transaction or hunt down hidden fees? That's where Rocket Money comes into play. The personal finance app that helps you take control. It finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. When I switched over to Rocket Money, I was shocked when they showed me how much I was paying for all these subscriptions that I had completely forgotten about. And I kind of bundled everything with my Apple Wallet and stuff. So kind of forgot about them, and Rocket Money's already saving me money. It consolidates your checking, savings, loans, and investments into a single dashboard. So basically, you get a clear view of your entire financial picture. Let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals faster. Join at rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. rocketmoney.com/locked-on. Thank you so much for making Locked On Louisville your first listen of the day and for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network in the world. Be sure to look into joining the new Locked On Everydayer Club. Go to lockedonlouisville.supercast.com or tap the link in the show notes to learn more. Thank you all for tuning into this live edition of the show, trying to have more live shows to, have more interaction with you all. So if you have any questions, thoughts, takes, let me know in the comments below. But here's the thing. Ultimately, Trey Richardson, who is an elite receiver, in my opinion. Here, give me 1 second. Devin says we need to make a petition to have Dalton film one-man skits for these ad reads to make them more spontaneous. Truthfully, I looked into pre-recording them, and usually I do that. But in a live show, I really just can't. I guess I probably could, but I just haven't at this point. But let's get back to the topic of wide receivers. Everyone wants to know, what is Louisville going to do with the wideouts? Well, the Cardinals added 2 on Thursday. More on both of those players coming up here shortly, but they are very heavily linked to Vanderbilt transfer Trey Richardson. Trey Richardson was on campus today, 46 catches, 806 yards, 7 touchdowns, 17.5 yards per reception. You can have the conversation about, is he a wide receiver 1? Is he not? At the end of the day, I don't care. He averaged 17.5 yards per catch on decent volume with 7 touchdowns in the SEC. That tells me everything I need to know about how good he's going to be for his next team. He is a playmaker, and you best believe that if Louisville were to get him, he's going to have a great season because he's one of those take the top off of the defense guys, like the true home run threat, deep ball receivers. There have been multiple top analysts crystal ball or forecast the Cardinals to land Trey Richardson. One of them being Pete Nakos. If he's logging a player to a certain school, you got to feel good. Now, he hasn't committed yet. I would imagine that we will be on commitment watch on Friday. Now, it's worth mentioning that, especially in the portal era, nothing is for certain until a player signs. Even then, things can get a little interesting. But as long as he doesn't make any other visits and he commits tomorrow, I feel good. But if things get pushed out and he ends up taking the visit to Texas like it was originally thought he was going to, or he goes back to Georgia, or another school gets a visit, that's when you want to worry. But at the moment, everyone that I've talked to has felt very good. And if you want some inside recruiting information, the 1912 Discord, I'm going to put it in the show details and description. 1912 Discord has kept everyone up to date. So when you see things pop up on Twitter, normally you already know about it until then. So be sure to check out the 1912 Discord. But Trey Richardson would be a great addition. But let's go to the Kentucky receivers that Louisville got. The first one is Hardley Gilmore IV. 6'1", 183 pounds, 28 catches in 2025, 313 yards and a touchdown. I would say that you could probably put a little bit more stock into those numbers, considering that they had a quarterback problem until, the last 3-4 weeks of the season. Started out with Zach Calzada. That didn't work out. They went to Cutter Boley, and he was kind of up and down, but he had some good performances. But the thing with Hardley Gilmore, very high potential, but comes with some potential baggage. And I want to be very careful with how I talk about this. I always try to be careful when it comes to baggage and stuff like that. 4-star in the 2024 class. He originally went to Kentucky for his freshman season, had a good start, got injured, and decided to enter the portal and go to Nebraska. Well, I think it was the day after he committed to Nebraska, according to John Hale of the Herald Leader in Lexington. On December 7th, he was charged with misdemeanor assault for allegedly punching someone in the face in downtown Lexington at a storage unit. Now, he went to Nebraska and ended up getting dismissed from the team, or he left the team. I'm not sure what verbiage you want to use, but he was not with the team. When Matt Rule got asked, he said, it wasn't anything criminal. It wasn't anything him breaking team rules. He's just not going to be with the team. So he goes back to Kentucky. And to my knowledge, there hasn't really been any other off the field stuff that has popped up. And I've tried to research it a little bit. So anytime a player is involved with that, I think that you have to mention it when you're talking about bringing guys in, because you don't want to damage the locker room. You don't want to look foolish by bringing a player in and something happens. Now, I will say, of course, Hardley, Gilmore the fourth, and Montavin, Quisenberry, who we're going to talk about here in a second. Both of these guys are Vince Morrow guys, as are the three other Kentucky guys. What I'm going to say about that is, on the field, he's got the potential. 6'1", 183 pounds. I think he's like a potential wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 in 2026. Like, I'm not comfortable if he's a wide receiver 1 or 2 until he proves it. But as it relates to the off the field stuff, I'm going to trust Jeff Brom and the coaching staff doing their due diligence and doing their homework. And if they believe that it's worth it to bring Gilmore to the 502, then that's what they believe. And this decision is one that I'm sure that the coaching staff has discussed and gone through everything. So ultimately, I'm not going to talk more in depth about off the field stuff because I don't know anything about it. I mean, everything's alleged, right? Of course, keyword on that, alleged. But you do have to mention that kind of comes with a little bit of potential baggage. The other player that the Cardinals got from the Wildcats is Montavin Quisenberry. Now, Quisenberry this season as a true freshman, 1 catch for 4 yards. He was 2024 Kentucky Mr. Football, won a state championship with Boyle County in Danville. He was a do-it-all type guy for Boyle County. Running back, wide receiver, just big-time playmaker. I'll say this. The guy has real deal speed. And you might be wondering, well, 1 catch for 4 yards, what are we doing here? I'll note that not every player that you bring in is going to be an immediate contributor in 2026. You can't bring in 30 guys and all 30 contribute. I mean, I guess you could, but it's not probable and it's not likely. So I think Quisenberry has the juice. He's got the speed and that home run threat speed. Like, people have compared him to like Tutu Atwell. Tutu's one of one. You won't see many Tutu Atwells in the history of Louisville football, but if you're talking about a skill set that is comparable to every time you get him the football out in space, he can take it to the crib. I mean, I agree with that. So Quisenberry is a guy that, even if he doesn't contribute this year, you need depth in that wide receiver room. You lost a good amount of players. You need depth. So realistically, you could take Gilmore, Quisenberry, Richardson, and maybe 2 more receivers, because don't forget, you lost Chris Bell, you lost Colin Lacey. I know Trayshawn Hurry is still in the portal. There's potential that he could come back. We'll see. But I would love to see Montavin and Isaac Brown in a foot race, because Quisenberry's got that level of speed. And you can't teach that speed. So if Jeff Brom's like, you know what, I can get this guy the ball out in space, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you take a flyer on a ton of talent? And Vince Morrow's recruited this guy, so you're going to – and I understand it's like, well, why are we bringing Kentucky players over when they had a bad season? Don't discount how much lackluster coaching can hinder a team, especially a talented team. Like, look at the past couple of years. Kentucky's had some talented guys that have gone on to play really well at other schools. But when you have bad coaching, it can outshine the talent. And you have bad quarterback play, it can outshine the talent. So that's all I'll say about that. But I think that both of these ads are contributing to the depth with higher upside potential. I'm not necessarily so sure that either of these two players you're expecting to be wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, maybe not even wide receiver 3. We'll see. It's going to be an open battle in fall camp. It's going to be an open battle in fall camp. The puzzle is starting to come together offensively. Louisville needs those high upside receivers, the productive receivers, and a center in the portal. On the defensive side, however, it seems like the Cardinals are trending for Iowa captain Cohen Intringer, and a familiar face is back in the 502. That presence will help out the Cardinals secondary in 2026. We'll tell you more about it. We'll knock out some stuff real quick, and we'll come back. As I mentioned, I really like these live shows because it helps me stay up to date, and I think it does a great job of just connecting me with the fan base. Because like I said, when I record these videos, I get to see the comments afterwards, but live comments are great because I can answer questions in real time, and I just appreciate you all tuning in. Defensively, well, let's go through the comments real quick. Shout out to D Pence, sleepless legend. Hey, if Louisville doesn't stop getting late night commitments, maybe I could get some sleep, or the potential of late night commitments. Find it interesting Kewan Brown hasn't entered the portal yet. I still think it's 50-50, leaning more towards him coming back. UC Perry, more backing up Antonio Watts, are playing as a safety. More on that here in just a minute. Let's see. Who do you predict will withdraw from the portal and return to Louisville? I think offensively, Trayshawn Hurry's one I would watch for. Micah Carter is one that I would watch for. I think that's probably it at the moment. But some defensive news. We know that Iowa safety Cohen Intringer was on campus on Thursday. He was voted a captain by his teammates, started all 13 games at strong safety. He had 73 tackles, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery. A safety captain from Iowa? Sign me up yesterday. You know how good that defense is. And he's also, like, if he's voted as a captain all season, then he's going to give you that leadership on the field. Again, sign me up yesterday. And from what I've heard, nothing concrete here, not like as much as we've heard on Richardson, but from what I've heard, it's trending in the right direction for the Cardinals. And I feel better about adding Cohen Intringer on January 9th as the clock strikes midnight than I did when we first got the news. Because here's the thing. If he takes more visits, I'm very, very worried. Because his next visit is going to be to Texas Tech. You know the money that's in Lubbock. They're throwing out a lot of money right now. Now they are recruiting All-American safety Coy Parrish from Minnesota. Would they take both of those guys? Is it whoever wants to commit first? Is Coy their top target over Cohen? I don't know. But you know how you eliminate all these possibilities? Get him to shut it down and commit. I think that you're kind of in a race against the clock. If he were to commit, or I'm sorry, if he were to schedule a commitment on Friday, if he were to commit on Friday, feel very good that it's Louisville. Jordan Gilbert from LSU apparently is going to be visiting Louisville at some point in the near future. I saw that article came out. Don't know when he's supposed to visit. I will say this, 2025, he saw his playing time take a little bit of a hit when LSU added A.J. Hardley. They added, Tamarcus Cooley. Gilbert is, I think, a player that he makes some really good plays, but his bad plays can be really loud. So giving up big plays in the back end of the defense, missing tackles, it's tough. I think that Gilbert could maybe succeed more in the ACC than the SEC per se, but I would much rather have Cohen Intringer than Jordan Gilbert if it's one or the other. But Ben Perry, he's back. I'll be honest, I had no clue this was a possibility. I had no clue. Ben Perry started for multiple seasons with the Cardinals in 2023, 2024. He was a key piece of the rotation in 2022, and he started play in 2021, played for 4 seasons with the Cardinals. Now, he transferred to UCLA. I hated to see him go, but it was one of those things where I thought that Antonio Watts was more than capable in rising into that starting role at the star position. Went to UCLA, played the first game, then he got hurt, and he redshirted. So he's got another year of eligibility. I'm fine with him coming back because, first of all, it's a feel-good story in your college career on a high note. Love what I saw from Ben Perry and love what he was able to do in his couple seasons here at the Cardinals or here with the Cardinals. So he kind of understands what's being asked of him in terms of a potential role. This is where it gets kind of interesting because, again, I feel like I'm beating a dead horse here, but until you know who the defensive coordinator is, or more specifically, who's calling plays, how can you talk about his role? Are you going to go with a 4-2-5 base defense? Are you going to go with a 3-4? Because that matters. Is he more of a backup to Antonio Watts, or does he play safety? Ben Perry, 6'3", 210 pounds. I think he's a backup to Antonio Watts at the star position, or whatever it's going to be called if things get switched, if the scheme gets switched, if they change systems. I think that ultimately he is high quality depth, and you need that. There's no shame in that. Don't forget, you have 22 starters, but injuries happen in football. The more quality depth that you have, and when guys get subbed in and out, if you can minimize the drop off and level of play when a starter goes out, that's how you ensure winning ways. That's how you consistently get to winning ways, in my opinion. That's why you see the teams that are in the college football playoff get there. It's not only because of the top end talent, it's because of the depth that they have as well. So could Ben Perry play safety? He hasn't played it in a couple of years. Now, don't forget, he was sort of that Swiss Army knife linebacker in coverage, and he has played for what will be probably the 3rd defensive coordinator now at Louisville. He'll find a way onto the field. I truly believe that. Will it be as a starter? I don't think so. Will it be as a high-end depth guy that rotates in and out in the 2 deep? 100% I believe it. Let's get some comments discussed real quick. If y'all have any questions, let me know. Thoughts, comments, also let me know. CFP or bust. I mean, you're getting to the point to where I think that Louisville, at this current moment, they have a top 25 roster. They have a top 25 roster. If you add a good center and a wide receiver 1 and maybe Cohen Intringer, like if you add Richardson and Intringer, a solid center, and maybe take a big swing on someone else, I think you got a top 15, top 20 talented roster. Let's see. Who are some defensive coordinator candidates we could bring in? Jonathan Gannon, probably not. Wink Martindale, probably not. Jim Leonard, probably not. Here's the thing. If Louisville goes with, at this point, like I said, it's either got to be somebody coaching in the college football playoff or someone coaching in the NFL playoffs, because why else would there be a delay? If someone's season's over, there really shouldn't be a delay. So I will say this. I'll leave it at this. If you're going to get someone external, I would look for someone that has ties to either the University of Louisville or the city of Louisville. And I will leave it at that. I will leave it at that. If you are looking for an external candidate to talk about, I would look at someone with ties to the city or the university. And we'll leave it at that. Bring back Charlie Strong. That's not going to happen. Gannon would be fun to bring in. I agree. I just don't think he's going to come here. Strong wouldn't hurt my feelings. Clint Hurt. I would love to bring Clint Hurt back to Louisville. And I know that some think, there's no chance that he would come back. I believe the opposite. I believe the opposite. I feel kind of good about believing the opposite. But ultimately, I'm not sure that Louisville would do that. Let's see. Tonight's playoff game proves that we need players with grit and tenacity. Yeah, you need those guys that are going to step up in big moments. And as it relates to Louisville, you need guys that are going to do the little things well, right? You need guys that are going to do the little things well, like the attention to detail and sort of that like never wavering. Like when you get hit in the mouth, it's like, cool, we'll bounce back. When you get hit with adversity, it's like, cool, we'll bounce back. That's what Miami did. Miami's like, if you're Louisville, it's almost like you're kind of following in those footsteps to an extent. Not fully, right? Because you don't have a Reuben Bain on your defensive line, but you've got the production. So you've got a good front seven right now. You've got a talented back end of the defense in the secondary. You've got an offense that is built from the trenches outward. Focus on the trenches. You've got a great running back committee. You've got a quarterback that, it's still to be determined, but if he can be a game manager like Carson Beck was for Miami, then you can have some success. Now, you're not going to have a Malachi Toney. That guy is electric. But if you have guys that can create separation, it's going to be huge. Let's see. What's the thinking on linebacker depth? There's some great dudes, but not a lot of them in the pipeline. You've got TJ Capers coming back, Stanquan Clark. You have some guys that the staff believes in who were true freshmen this past year, Cameron White and Caleb Matalo. You've got Trent Carter as well, who the staff believes in. Not to mention your linebackers in coverage, Antonio Watts, Ben Perry. You can maybe go out and get another linebacker for depth. I might be missing somebody. I'm not sure. If we get the wide receiver from Vandy and the Iowa safety, this will be the best portal class Promise had no matter what else we get. I agree. I 100% agree. I like our pass rushers. We need 2 more 300-pound defensive tackles. I do think that you've got some rotational guys in the mix there. Jared Smith, I think, is a 3-tech. So he can play on the interior. I think that's where his athleticism is going to serve him well. Wouldn't surprise me if Louisville adds, a gap stopper, if you will, on defense. Let's see. Trey Richardson is going to be so good under Brom's new offense. Reminds me of Rondale Moore. I think Richardson's more of a deep ball guy. Like Rondale Moore was like, let me catch it underneath and then just burn you. And Richardson could do that, but both of them are extreme yak level guys. Any word on more quarterbacks to get? I think the Marist quarterback was linked to Louisville or someone that was said that we need to watch out for. But I haven't heard anybody, especially with Deuce Adams going to Wisconsin to be I think he's going to back up Colton Joseph. I forgot that they did bring in another quarterback. So that'll be interesting. But I think Briggs Cherry is legit. It wouldn't surprise me if he is your QB2 next year. Richardson reminds me a little of Tutu Atwell. To an extent, yeah, I agree with that. I think Richardson is, again, more of like a deep ball threat, but Tutu was one of those guys as well. So let's see. Last comment. Going to be a phenomenal class. Worried about the receiver room for next year without a proven one. I think that Trey Richardson is as proven as you could hope for, right? 800 yards, 7 touchdowns, 17.5 yards per catch in the SEC for Vanderbilt is pretty good, my opinion. And I don't think that they're going to be done, even if they do add Richardson. Do you think Briggs will get some actual playing time this year? I hope so. I hope so in blowouts. I hope so. I would like to see him get like the offenses of the mid-2000s. Give him a series and let him operate. So you don't see that much, but who knows? If we land Richardson, do you think we're still in the running for Mylan Graham? I am sort of needing to be convinced that Louisville is even in the running for Mylan Graham. Like, until you see a visit, I have my reservations. I would love if Miley Graham came here because he's a fantastic talent. I would just have to see if he visits. But okay, so that is going to wrap up this live edition of the show. This is going to serve as the Friday show, but if one of Trey Richardson or Cohen Entringer commits, we'll have a bonus show. If both of them commit, we'll have a live show tomorrow night. That is going to wrap up this live edition of the show. Everyone have a great day. Have a great night. Can't wait to see what tomorrow has in store for Jeff Brom and the transfer portal. Go Cards.